What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, who having an absolutely wonderful day. I know who's not having a wonderful day. And that is the star of The Acolyte, a Disney Star Wars series that has been soundly mocked by Star Wars fans for, of course, its many lore-breaking decisions, but also, those who are on the conversational side of the cultural impact and the cultural side of things when it comes to Disney, when it comes to Star Wars, things of that nature. People pointing out, the obvious initiatives in casting, the obvious initiatives in the writing. It's never been more obvious. You could look at like The Boys season 4 as another perfect example of a show that just is too political. It's just too much. People don't want to get all that overt messaging, put on them when they're just trying to watch a space opera. Now, I think it was Thursday or Friday of last week, Amandla Stenberg, who is the star of the currently lowest rated Star Wars show or movie in history, decided that it was a great idea to put out a diss track about how evil all the fans are, all the, how difficult of a life this individual's had. Well, I've got some interesting information about Amandla Stenberg. Her story mirrors that of somebody like Colin Kaepernick very closely as well. This is somebody who seriously has identity issues, really, really, really wants to be seen as one particular race, even though they have in her particular case, mixed race parents. And with Colin Kaepernick, he was adopted by a white family. Their modus operandum is basically the same. Have a huge afro, talk about social justice and how you're oppressed, even though you grew up extraordinarily privileged. Well, she put out this diss track, which of course everyone made fun of. And then she immediately, or somebody on her team, has been copyright striking channels for reacting to it. Now, coincidentally, as is always the case, by the way, I reacted to this video and they did not copyright strike my channel, but they did copyright strike many smaller channels. And it is my opinion, obviously, that this is on purpose. They know that if they copyright struck my channel, I would take it to court and I would win, because reaction content is and has been confirmed by multiple court cases, fair use. Most recently, a very, very important lawsuit where Ethan Klein, defended fair use in court. Sargon defended fair use in court. Fair use is pretty rock solid. It's pretty understandable. It's pretty, clear. Literally reacting to music videos about as fair use as it gets. Reactor content is extraordinarily popular on YouTube. It's promoted by YouTube. There are lots of popular channels like Tyrone Magnus and others that are like just literal reaction channels. Nothing wrong with it. It's fair use, whether you like it or not. Well, Amandla Stenberg put out this track to totally own the chuds, and now all of their tweets are protected. I wonder why. Of course, then also putting out, if you look at some of, the what are many people referring to as rage twerking. The video, of course, features Amandla Stenberg, the gigantic afro, talking about specifically social justice issues that impact the Black community, something that, of course, she's entitled to do. The problem is, in this diss track that she put out, danced horribly, lyrics were just basically spoken word. The whole thing was embarrassing for her. It's like, she grew up a theater kid. What's wild is that she continues to paint herself as some sort of oppressed individual, in particular because the color of her skin. Now, what she doesn't talk about is the extremely privileged life that Amandla Stenberg has lived. Born in 1998, began as a child actress in Columbiana, then had supporting roles in the Hunger Games, Supernatural series Sleepy Hollow, and the sitcom Mr. Robinson. Roles in the romance film Everything, Everything, The Hate You Give, which is the source of that infamous interview question about making people cry or whatever the case is. Bodies, 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 which is terrible. And of course, The Acolyte. This is somebody who has a net worth in the multi-million dollars and has been rich their entire life. From their very early years, they were starring in big films. You know, I mean, it's wild. This is somebody who's been a Hollywood actor since they were 14, has been given literally every opportunity imaginable. And the idea that you would go online and try to, you know, convince people that you're oppressed is hilarious. In 2013, Amandla Stenberg began performing on the violin and singing harmonies at LA venues with singer-songwriter Xander Howley. In 2014, Stenberg voiced Bria in the animated film Rio 2, which was a commercial success. In 2015, Stenberg released their first EP as a folk rock duo Honeywater. In 2015, released the video Don't Cash Crop My Cornrows. Again, this is somebody who's always, you know, desperate to appeal to one community over many others. Now, again, that's a choice you suppose you could make. You know, I can't say that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that I am aware that this individual grew up extremely privileged, extremely wealthy. Okay, he's been a Hollywood actor, successful in big budget films their whole life. Now, that hasn't stopped the showrunner from melting down, as we talked about. You know, that when people are telling them directly that you think your show is propaganda, she then slams the criticism as reductive. I talked a little bit about this before. I don't believe that I've created LGBTQ with a capital Q content. Star Wars The Acolyte has proven to be one of the most divisive star entries in the Star Wars franchise since it debuted on Disney's streaming platform earlier this month, despite being a hit with critics, because again, we know that all you have to do is have a super diverse cast/show, and critics will give you an 80 to 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, because they are not rating whether or not your show is good. They're rating whether or not you're spreading the message, whether you're following quote unquote both written and unwritten rules. The show currently has a 14% audience score, the lowest rating in that category among all Star Wars content, all of it, including the Christmas specials. The show's LGBTQ representation, we talked about that. I was surprised. I think it's being reductive. I mean, if it's being reductive, then why is it the only thing you ever talk about? I think is a very reasonable question to ask. You look at the replies to this, everyone knows. I say it sucks. No lesbian, no space witches sound about right. Missed opportunity to not cast Hillary Maddow and the ladies of The View. Put a chick in it and make it lame. I haven't watched one episode. She said this is what she wanted, and she gets offended when people call it just that. If you want to destroy a well-loved series, just hire a feminist director. Everything woke turns to garbage. Star Wars franchise has been toast for a while. This just composted it. I mean, this is not surprising. You know, The Independent coming out. Review trolls tank new Star Wars project, The Acolyte, while confusing with the same name horror film. You can see this article from Cosmic Book News. The Acolyte's star Amandla Stenberg rage twerks, shout out to them, I got to give them credit for that term, against right-wingers in music videos. I mean, it is the dumbest, the show stinks. You know, the show stinks. It's okay, though, because now they're trying to blame Dave Filoni. They're pushing Dave under the bus so hard, the Acolyte writer subtly puts the blame on Dave Filoni as the series hits a new low, beating the worst Star Wars project. Interesting. The descent has unfortunately eclipsed the notorious Star Wars Holiday Special, which infamously hovered at a 20% audience score In the midst of everything, the Acolyte writer gently points the finger at Dave Filoni, the chief creative officer at Lucasfilm. Interesting. The show, which has been eagerly contemplated by fans, has now set the record with the all-time lowest score. I mean, is it, one of the writers in the Acolyte season 4, Claire Keishel, has raised eyebrows by subtly pointing the blame at Dave Filoni, a prominent figure in Star Wars universe. Via Culture Crave, he mentioned that Filoni gives notes on all scripts and ultimately approves them, along with Lucasfilm team, implying that he may partially be responsible for the show's delay in quality. Well, yeah, I mean, who's surprised by that? And now you can see the music video, which was initially much beloved. Let's look at some of the recent replies. That backfired spectacularly. Everyone responding, cringe. She really thought she did something here. Grew up in a wealthy family, trained violinist, Hollywood actress employed in one of the largest corporations in America, claims to be oppressed. Just as bad as her acting in The Acolyte. Race card, wow, so original. I would say this is the most cringe thing you've ever done, but then I remembered why we're here. You're in The Acolyte. So wait, Gina Carano gets fired for her post, but this just completely cool. You're not oppressed. You're, cringe 1000. Latino here. The show stinks, and this song is what they used to get people to talk in prison. Wokeism, victimization, judging people by their race while complaining. I mean, cringe AF. Dear Lord, this is terrible. I mean, after massive backlash, are there people that have said something about her race? I don't know. I would disavow that, and I do disavow that. I would stick to her, foolishly going after the Star Wars fans. I would stick to her foolishly copyright claiming anybody reacted to this song and then rejecting their claims. If anybody has had her do a copyright strike and you believe that your reaction is fair use, I'm happy to put you in touch with a lawyer. I guarantee you they won't go to court. You won't even have to go to court. It would be the dumbest decision they've ever made. So now she's in hiding, and I suspect later Monday the articles will start flowing about how the toxic fandom ran off their new brightest star. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.